Good morning, Spencer.
Good morning, Gary. I apologize about that, my friend.
Well, I know you got probably things like a wife and kids and a job and things that you have to deal with. But we appreciate you carving some time out for us. Hey, before we get to the game tomorrow and this Alabama team and Tua Tagovailoa and all the things that people want to hear about, I want to revisit your recruitment because I remember following it well, but you were committed to Mississippi State coming out of Fayette, and
Right.
Your brother had played at Alabama, Jeremy, and it looked like you were going to be a Bulldog, but Alabama got involved, and you wound up switching your commitment and signing with the Crimson Tide. Kind of relive what happened there and what ultimately led you from Mississippi State to Alabama, where I know your heart was the entire time.
Well, Gary, when you're young and just coming out, I wanted to play two sports, and Mississippi State was the only SEC school at the time that was going to allow me to play football and baseball. And I had it in my mind that's what I wanted to do. And Jackie Sherrill was a great coach and a great man, and offered me the opportunity to do so. And then we actually had a great season my senior year at Fayette, and of all things came to Tuscaloosa to practice for the championship game. And when we were at Tuscaloosa practicing to get used to the surroundings, because back then they played the Super Six in Birmingham, so we came to Tuscaloosa to get used to playing in a big environment.
Right.
And I wondered why we threw the ball about 80 times that practice. And it was because Coach Tucker knew that Dennis Franchione was actually going to be at that practice. I think it was the first day that he was on campus, and he came to watch us. And after that practice, he just said, "Hey, listen, Spencer, I know that you want to play football and baseball. I want to give you that opportunity. I want you to think it over, pray about it, talk with your family about it." And obviously, Gary, from the time I was 8 or 9 years old, from my brother's recruiting trips all the way to going and watching him play every weekend, I had Alabama, in my blood and in my veins, and that's where I wanted to go. And I thanked Jackie Sherrill, and I told him I appreciate it very much, but Tuscaloosa was home.
Yeah, and you came here and you wound up playing baseball. In fact, we'll get to this in a moment. You I think you gave up football and actually finished with baseball. But let's talk about your football time. Of course, Brody Coral was here. There was the coaching change from Coach Fran, who had recruited and signed you, to Coach Shula. But I think it was 2003. You wound up having a pretty good year. I mean, I think you threw for right around 1,000 yards, a number of touchdowns, got to start in the bowl game. Is that am I right on the season there, Spencer?
Yeah, and you know what, Gary? I actually, my first start was against Mississippi State, of all things.
How about that?
I wanted to tell you, I left football. I had an injury against the Georgia Bulldogs. I had reconstructive shoulder surgery, and then I had about 3 or 4 concussions at that time. And the doctor said, "Hey, Spencer, if you want to be able to play with your children by the time you're 40, you might want to hang up the helmet and just stick with baseball." So that's how that wound up happening, Gary.
Okay, that's what I was remembering.
Yeah.
That time, there were some good times and there were some bad times. I mean, I think a lot of people look back at Coach Fran and feel like, and you played for him, and I want to get your opinion. I always thought he was an excellent football coach. I mean, I thought he could really coach the game. I thought maybe, unlike Coach Saban, he just didn't have the type of thick skin needed to coach here. And he seemed to be bothered by criticism. He seemed to be worried about what was going to happen with scholarship restrictions. And I just thought he kind of bailed, which certainly I know you guys as players, that's the way you had to feel. Take me back to that time, and what did you think of him as a football coach?
I really did like Coach Franchione, obviously. He was the one that recruited me. The only thing I didn't like is he wanted to run the option, and me being a slow passing quarterback coming from Fayette County, that was a little bit of a change. But, I really do think that if you ask Dennis Franchione right now, did he wish he had stayed at Tuscaloosa, at the university? I guarantee you, I've heard it from many people. I've actually actually heard it from a pretty reliable source that his wife said that many nights he let her know that was the worst thing he had ever done coaching-wise. And I think that you're right. I think he might have started feeling the pressure of being at the University of Alabama and the responsibility that goes along with that and the commitment to winning and winning quickly. And I think that he had a couple successful years, had gone to the bowl game, and then, boom, he had an opportunity and the star was rising, and he probably thought the grass was greener on the other side, but it may have been greener, but it was also about 10 feet deep.
When Coach Shula got here, of course, he switched to a more favorable system for you. And as I said, you had a pretty good year in 2003. You made the right choice, obviously, for yourself, and now you got a family, as I said. But how tough was that, even with the concussions, even with the injuries, to give up a game that you had been playing since you were a little boy, and basically in 2003, for the most part, you had been the starting quarterback? I'm sure that wasn't an easy choice.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Growing up, obviously watching my brother play, every little boy wants to be the quarterback at the university. And, I was so fortunate and blessed. And I actually got to play when Brody was injured. Brody and I were roommates and still great friends. We spend time together and do a lot of duck hunting together and all of that. But, very, very difficult decision to give it up. Gary, baseball is a wonderful game, and I loved it. And I tell people all the time,
that was your first love, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. I was a baseball player that happened to play football.
Right.
I really didn't even pick up a football. I didn't even start playing football until my 10th grade year.
Oh, wow.
And so baseball was my first love, and there's nothing compared to running out in front of 100,000 people at Bryant-Denny Stadium, Gary. Nothing.
It is. It gives me chills, and I'm just sitting there watching it. Speaking of baseball, were you drafted out of high school?
Yeah, I was. I was drafted by the Chicago Cubs in the 9th round. And at the time, being a young and immature kid, Gary, I was supposed to be a first 3-round draft pick back then. And as luck would have it, I signed a football scholarship to have something to, not necessarily to fall back on, but if Major League Baseball didn't work out and I didn't get a call and I didn't get drafted,
right,
I wanted to be at the university. And when I did that, they see a small town kid who's never, really been out of Lamar and Fayette County, and they were like, "Wait a minute now, is his love really baseball, or is he wanting to play football?" So I slid down to the 9th round with the Chicago Cubs, and
which is still pretty high pick, to be honest with you, coming out of high school.
Well, you know what? I was very honored, and thinking back on that now, I mean, my goodness, it was just it was all happening so fast. Yeah. It was kind of like a dream, Gary.
Yeah, and do you ever, if things have worked out for you, do you ever wonder what if I'd have signed with the Cubs?
My goodness, you know what? I think that I would be lying if I didn't question what would have happened. Could I have made it?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm a believer, man. I know that God has a plan, and I'm exactly, even to this day, I'm exactly where he wants me to be, or I wouldn't be here.
I hear you. Absolutely. All right, let's get to this Alabama dynasty that Nick Saban's built. And my gosh, I mean, it just gets better every year. So let's focus on this season. And I get the feeling, you being a quarterback, you're like me. I'm not a quarterback, but the appreciation that we have for Jalen Hurts and what he was able to do, and even what he's doing now. But Tua is special, and I know Tua works, and I know they coach him, but I think a lot of this with Tua is just a God-given gift. I mean, watching him throw the football, Spencer, it's just not. There aren't many people that ever put a football in their hand that have the ability that he possesses. I mean, it's uncanny what he can do with a football. When you watch this guy, is there anybody that you can compare him to, or have you ever seen anybody else like him at Alabama?
He's the best thrower of the football I've ever seen, Gary, ever. I don't just mean I don't mean in college sports. I don't mean, I mean ever. Literally the most on target, the most spot on. And here's the thing. I can't figure out. He's almost like a machine, Gary. He literally has no conscience when he's on the field. I honestly believe that he could go out there and throw 3 interceptions, and he would still have the same demeanor. His poise, I think that's the word that I heard Jeremiah Castile use the other day about this young man. His poise is something that is so unbelievable that it's tough to put into words. I really do think that the young man is professional quarterback ready right now. I think he's pro ready right now, and that's, I know that sounds crazy to say, and I don't want to put undue pressure on him, but I don't think you can put pressure on this guy. I don't think that there is something that you can do to him that is going to make him not be Tua. And you're right, man. When the good Lord put his left arm on, instead of doing that, he put a cannon on there.
It's remarkable. With him playing the way he's playing, with the receivers, the offensive line, the running backs, this defense now really coming into form. Again, you got to go out and play. And Mississippi State's a dangerous team. And certainly down the road, they're going to play great teams. 2 years ago, they were within a couple minutes of doing it against Clemson. Is this team the one to go 15-0, to become the first college football team in the modern era to go 15-0? Can this one do it, in your opinion?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a team more complete top to bottom. I've never seen a team that, honestly, their third team, second and third team would start on any other team in the country. This is they've got the best quarterback. Their defensive line is unbelievable. I think that last week against LSU, that was the best defensive team that we were going to see. I know for a fact it's going to be the best defensive back that we were going to see all year. I don't see a chink in their armor. Now, obviously, that is there's a reason that we chalk the field up and play the game, right? There's always something that could happen. But, Gary, you tell me, man, I don't see a weakness. I don't see anybody that can beat us.
I don't either. I mean, I think the bottom line is this. The way I do it, Spencer, when I handicap a game, the first thing I say is if both teams play their best, who wins? Well, it's Alabama. And a lot of times Alabama doesn't even have to play its best, and you play your best and they could still win. The only question is, if you play a team when you don't play your best, are they good enough to beat you? And there are some of those on the schedule. That's the only chance, I think, is that Alabama doesn't play well against a really good team, and then they can lose. But if Alabama plays well, I don't think anybody can touch them. This team tomorrow, Mississippi State, comes in here with a defense that's only given up 9 touchdowns. They're outstanding on that side of the ball, big and physical in the front seven, back end a few questions, although the pass rush helps their secondary. But this is a team, Spencer, that they're going to try to control the football on offense, run it, pass enough to keep Alabama honest, milk the play clock, try on defense not to give up the chunk plays that Alabama has killed people on, and just get this thing into a messy physical game and try to hang around and see maybe in the fourth quarter if they can make a play. Is Mississippi State potentially good enough, in your opinion, to make this game interesting into the second half?
I do. I don't think that there's any way that they will beat us. I really don't. But I don't think that you're going to see a shutout. If it's going to be rainy and messy and sloppy, I think that does benefit Mississippi State, but however, Gary, I'm telling you, I have wanted what I consider a nail biter all year. I've been looking for it all year, for forever too. I hadn't played in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, my goodness, what is this that we're watching? And I don't think that anybody can beat us. And I don't say that arrogantly. I just don't see how they can, Gary. I really don't. Yes, I think it'll be a good game. I don't think it'll be a blowout. But, Gary, I think you would agree with this. Tua, last week against LSU, that was probably, and this is laughable coming from me, but that was probably Tua's worst game of the year, right? I mean, as far as, he finally threw an interception, which, my goodness, I think that we were looking, is this guy going to do it all year without an interception? He did prove that he is human last weekend, and we still pitched a shutout. we still had a shutout.
I know. Still won by 29. It would have been 31 if they could kick an extra point. I guess
isn't it crazy? That's crazy. That's not it. That's silly, is what that is. I don't even know how you put that in words, but I do think it'll be a great game. Obviously, I'm looking forward to watching it, and I would love to be there. My wife's from Ohio and has a bunch of friends in town and family, and we're just going to watch it on 70 inches HD.
Is she a Buckeye, or have you converted her?
Heck no, Gary. She started off, she liked the Buckeyes, and then she got down south and realized that what real football was about.
Hey, one other thought on the quarterbacks, because you've been through it. Yep. Brody, Brandon Avalos, others. You're competing. You're trying to get on the field, but you're also trying to support each other. Your takeaway from how Jalen's handled this. I mean, the guy was 26-2, and if he's probably any other quarterback, he's not losing his job. But with Tua, as we said, it's just special. But the way that he's handled this, converting to a backup, getting better as a passer, I think, taking advantage of his opportunities. What does that say about him as a teammate and as a person?
I just think that first and foremost, it just shows what a real man does. Life is hard, Gary. I didn't have to learn about life being as hard as it is until I got out of college. Jalen's learning while he's in college, and sometimes it takes a real man, honestly. And if you ask Jalen, he may tell you that he doesn't outwardly come out and tell you that Tua is better than he is, Gary. He may not say that. But when he goes to bed at night, I know he knows it. And sometimes, as a man, the most selfless and honorable thing that you can do is say, this individual is better for the team. This person is better for our situation than I am. And you're exactly right. Before I watched that man play, and that man being Tua, I couldn't believe that there were even talks about not starting Jalen.
I was the same way.
I'm serious. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding? This guy has lost 2 ball games. I mean, in my mind, I'm going, hey, do y'all remember from 01 to 05 when we were celebrating going to the Music City Bowl, people? And this guy's lost 2 games, and y'all are talking about not starting him? I mean, honestly, it made me upset. I tried to put myself in that situation, of Jalen. And I was a huge fan, and still am a huge fan of Jalen. But when you watched number 13, which, by the way, Gary, that was my number. He called me and said, could he wear it? I told him he could.
You went ahead and said, yeah, Tua. In your case, I'll make an exception. I got it.
But, hey, he's special. I think both of them are special. And, look, my goodness gracious, Nick Saban has to be the guy that can sleep better than any other head coach in the country, knowing that if my starter goes down, I've got somebody that, what was he, 26, 28-2?
26-2, yeah.
There you go.
It's remarkable. And plus, I think it speaks to Nick Saban and the program he's built that Jalen's willing to stay. And a lot of, we didn't see that with Kelly Bryant at Clemson. He bailed immediately. But this is the kind of program they run here. I mean, it's just, it's special, no doubt. Score prediction for tomorrow.
Oh, goodness. I knew you were going to do that.
Always do.
Let's go 30, 35. But we don't pull away till the, fourth quarter or so, but 35-17.
Sounds good. Great to catch up with you, Spencer, and so happy that you're doing well and you have a great family. And it's good to go down memory lane because I had you reminded me of some stuff that I had kind of forgotten about. So great stuff. Good to catch up with you, buddy.
Thank you. I love your show. I appreciate you having me on, and roll tide, Gary.